Well, welcome to Saturday and Technical Difficulties. We're going to give this a try again. We are getting ready for Super Bowl Sunday, and so we're going to make some foods that are easy to munch on while you're eating or watching the game, but are healthy. And so I'm just going to show you. I just stuck this in the oven. It's butternut squash, and it was a pretty small squash. I just put it in some olive oil with a little bit of salt and pepper, and it's going to go in there for about 20 minutes. On the stove, I have water getting ready for my pasta, and I have elbow macaroni, so that's what I'm going to use. You can use penne, you can use shells, you can use really whatever smaller pasta that you enjoy, egg noodles, whatever. I have some andouille sausage here. We're going to wilt up some spinach for this. I have some mushrooms that I'm going to add to it. Not a whole lot, but I need to get these mushrooms used. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit of this Brussels sprouts. So we'll just do up a couple of these. And basically, it's going to have a Cajun flair. I'm going to put some hot peppers in there and some spices. If you don't like it hot, leave that out. But I figure since the Super Bowl's in New Orleans, we should kind of give things a Cajun flair. And then tomorrow for you, I'm going to do up some dips, some loaded sweet potatoes, and maybe some sliders. And I'm also kind of considering a spinach crab dip. And I have cut up most of my vegetables today because I find that I start cutting and I stop talking. I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, which is good, but it makes it hard to listen to me, I think. So, working on that. I'll get better at it. I'm not bad at talking. I'm just obviously not very good at talking while I'm cutting. So anyways, lots still happening in the world. More planes going down. They found the one in Alaska, and unfortunately everybody was deceased. Lots of roar right now about the tax cuts that Trump is getting rid of, all these benefits for low-income people. And I did a little bit of research, not a lot. But really all it is that his original tax plans from 2017 are sunsetting, meaning they're coming to an end. And so the tax benefits he put in place for these lower income groups, like single-headed households, is ending. So he's not putting more taxes on people. It's a policy he put in place before that's coming to an end. And I don't like that. I was a low-income single mom for a long time as I worked my way through school, and it was really tough, and I appreciated any benefit I could get. I don't understand also on the college students why they want to tax income on them other than somehow there's been some playing of the system, but I don't really know. And so I'm going to not comment on that. Again, I don't know that it's coming from him as much as it is the Republican Party. And let's face it, not everybody in the Republican Party is on board with Trump. That's why he's having such a hard time getting some of his cabinet picks through, because there's that old core that doesn't want to do what he wants them to do. And so I don't have the answer. I really, most of my life I ignored politics because it just frustrated me and I didn't see any benefit. That wasn't a good policy because things got past me that really were not good. And for the first time ever, I called my congressman when they wanted to pass that budget bill without it ever getting read. I was furious because I knew it was a really bad idea. And there were really bad things in that bill. It got stopped. So we do have a voice. We do need to pay attention. When things are really bad, and especially against our children, I think I'll do a little bit more. we need to pay attention. But I think we also have to be careful not to get in front of our skis. And so sometimes we have to let things play out a little bit, and that's not happening right now. So I'm going to add some onions to this. We'll start with those. And cilantro. I got peppers. I'm going to make this pretty spicy, so that may not suit everybody, and that's okay. It's important that you know that no matter what is my recipe is, that none of these recipes are hard, fast, that you can't change them to your liking. Maybe you don't like Brussels sprouts, add some cabbage, or leave them out, add some green beans. Maybe you don't like spinach. Whatever the case may be, just know that you have freedom to switch things up. And so that's okay. But it's important that you get lots of different food groups. You know, I'm using the red onions again, which are much higher in bioflavonoids, and polyphenols, which are really good at bringing down inflammation and healing your body. We need to make sure we're keeping our protein up. That is something I wanted to talk to you about. For an inactive person, you want about a half gram per pound. For an active person, a gram per pound. So when you think about that, and that's for your ideal weight. So let's say my ideal weight is 130 pounds. I need to get 60 to 130 grams of protein in a day. That's a lot of protein. A chicken breast is 30 grams. And if you remember yesterday I was talking to you about the World Economic Forum doesn't want us eating meats. They don't want us eating chicken, beef, pork. They don't want us drinking milk or any milk byproducts. If you look at the most common protein supplements, they're whey. Well, what does whey come from? It's part of the milk. So we really, really need to be paying attention to what these organizations want to do. And you need to be aware. At the same time they're saying they don't want you to eat beef, they're serving beef tenderloin and filet mignon and things like that to their selves at their meetings. Just like they want you to reduce your carbon footprint and not have a car while they're driving their private jets all around. So it's very much rules for thee, but not for me. And if you don't pay attention and support your local farmers, I don't find it a coincidence that there's a couple versions of the bird flu around, and I think they're going to use that particular flu not only to cause havoc and possible try and do another lockdown, and you know, people will get sick and people unfortunately might die, but also as a way to cull out and significantly decrease chickens, eggs, cows, goats, so that there's less food. Just like all of the food plants that have been destroyed. It's a law of supply and demand. So one thing happens is the prices go up. The other thing happens is the food's not available for those that don't have, and guess what? They eventually perish. I'm not making this stuff up. I don't like it. I think it's wrong, and I think what you need to do is, where you can, invest in food. Invest in long storage food. Invest in food that's coming from your local farmer, so that when these meat processing plants are burned down or shut down because of disease or whatever the case may be, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a fortune teller. You will have a more likelihood of having this available. If you can raise your own food, if you can raise a cow or goats or sheep or chickens, I don't think it's a bad idea. Now, you also need to be prepared that they are going to, what did I do with it? Oh, I'm losing my mind here. what I'm looking for. Ah, hello, it's right in front of me. Thought I put it in a bowl. They're going to want to get rid of private producers. They're going to come up with something that it's the backyard chickens that are the problem. It's the backyard cows that are the problem. So just be prepared for that too. And don't go, well, Patty, you told me to do this. I'm telling you to do what you can, but be aware and get involved in your communities, because the United States in particular, and Canada and even Europe, are big enough that just because it's happening in one community does not mean it can be avoided in other communities, okay? So you need to do your best to know your community. And say, no, we want to allow chickens here. No, we want to allow this. No, we don't want these added burdens of regulations on our local stock. You have the ability to change that. And I would encourage you to do that. I can't make things happen, but I can tell you what I would do and what you can do, and that's something you can do. Okay, we're going to have one of those days technology-wise again, and I'm sorry for that. I don't know why it happens, but it does, and I can't change it, so I can just go with the flow and not get upset. So we're going to do this andouille sausage up. So anyways, buy local as much as you can, support your local farmers, support your local economy, get involved in things, go to town meetings, figure out what kind of regulations they want to impose, get involved in the health department, whatever is your, the agriculture department, and speak up against any undue, unrealistic regulations that take your rights away, that put fees on things, and do your best to promote healthy living, farm fresh, whole foods. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that single ingredient food, what we're cooking with here, all of these things are, not full of 500 different things except maybe the sausage, but they're one or two ingredients. And it's important that we, the sausage smells great, that we support healthy eating. We need to make sure that kids are getting that in school. There's, no doubt about it that as we become inflammatory, we get insulin resistance. Insulin resistance leads to more serum insulin. Insulin causes growth, so it causes obesity, it causes cancers, it causes cancers to grow faster, and the only way that we're going to take care of that is if we decrease the amount of inflammation in our diet, in our life, the amount of stress. We gotta keep those insulin resistant things down. And insulin impacts every single cell in our body. So if you don't control it, you are going to have a problem. Now remember what I said about spinach. It's high in oxalates, but if you cook it, a chemical reaction happens that causes the oxalates to decrease. So we want to cook our spinach. The other thing that, if you remember one of my first videos, we talked about dressing our carbs. And what does that mean? That means adding fat to our carbs so that they slow down on their absorption. And even though these are healthy carbs, the fact that we're cooking it in a little bit of olive oil means that we're dressing our carbs. And by doing that, we are decreasing the amount of impact it has on that insulin. And insulin is necessary for life. Like I said, it impacts every cell in our body. But too much insulin is dangerous and basically is probably, arguably, the number one cause of death and disease in our country. And not just our country, but in Asia and in Europe. And in fact, Asians are more insulin resistant than most Americans are. So they really got to watch themselves. Now what I want to do here, turn this off for just a minute, is I'm going to want to chop this spinach up a little bit, okay? You can use frozen spinach too. You want your noodles, you know, kind of al dente. Okay. But you just want to mix it up, or mince, not mix, so that it's easier to mix into your pasta. And let that go just a little bit longer. And I do want to add just a little bit of mushrooms to this. We'll do those up now. Again, mushrooms are really good for mental health and antioxidation, and so I'm not going to add a lot, but I want to add a little bit. So, you can see this isn't really taking a long time, and I don't want to overcook these because they're going to go back in. I'm going to mix it all up together. That's probably enough. Let that drain. Put all this back in the pot. And the meat. Small kitchens make it tough sometimes when you have a lot of cut dishes, but it is what it is. And I'm going to drop this down to 350 because I'm going to pop that in the oven when it's all done together. Okay. And then I have a bunch of spices here that I've put together that I'm going to just pour in there. And you can use the water from your pasta to do this, but I'm going to use a little bit of broth. Just to give it added flavor and nutrition. That's the bone broth I made the other day. And we'll add the spinach in. And the pasta. Together. And then I have some Parmesan cheese here that we're going to add in. And I want that to kind of melt on the inside. So on top of this, I'm going to add a little bit of cheddar and Monterey Jack. No, I'm making a mess. Welcome to my world. As you remember, I'm not much of a measurer. I just kind of go with the flow. And there's good and bad with that. You know, the good is that you're not getting as much dirty. The bad is that every time you make something, it turns out a little bit different. And that's just the way it is. I made a mess here. For cleaning your stove when it cools off, I really recommend Bartender's Friend. And well, I should have added that too. Oh, I want to add a little bit more to this. I forgot some of the peppers. Mama likes her peppers. We're just gonna put some of those off to the side for the top. And we're just gonna sprinkle that on top. Okay. And the red peppers are those Thai peppers that are really, really hot. So, what I'll do is I'm going to clean up while this sits in the oven for about 10 minutes, and then I'll start the video again and I'll splice them together because we're having technical difficulties again, and that's the way I found to get around that best. So I will be back. Okay, well, just a couple more minutes in the oven and I'll pull it out and we will get this plated up. I'm just going to use a bowl for this today because it's pasta and that just seems appropriate. I added a little bit of peppers at the end on top of the cheese. I'm just going to kind of mix it up, and then I have some green onions, some cilantro, and more jalapenos that I'm just going to use as garnish on the top. And really, you know, when you're, yes, there's carbs in here with the pasta, but because you're adding fats and you're adding fiber and you're adding protein in the sausage, you're really minimizing the impact of the pasta. Had I just had pasta with, you know, no added protein and no added fiber, it would not be real healthy. So a lot of it has to do with the order of it. And I think this is a good meal to take a shot of apple cider vinegar and add it to some water and have that before you start as well. That's going to decrease your insulin response by about 40%, which is pretty impressive. So there's things you can do before you eat to help. And then the other thing is afterwards, go for a walk. That's going to reduce the insulin response even more. So between dressing your carbs, adding the apple cider vinegar, walking, and not eating all day long, you significantly reduce your insulin levels. During fasting, insulin levels drop, so that's why it's really important to decrease your eating window. So you can eat much more in that window than you know. I don't believe in calorie counting, so I don't think you need to do that. What I do think you need to do is oh, look at that. That looks yummy, doesn't it? So it's just be aware of what you're eating and not. I am just losing everything today. And not get caught up in eating all day long like the grazers. And I know there was a time they told you to graze. The problem with that is your insulin levels never get to fall. Every time you start to get a decrease, you eat again and you bounce it back up again. And so it's always high, and that's always telling your body to store fat. That's always telling your body to grow, and it's going to grow, and you're going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And I told you with myself, I got this because I was eating too much in the evenings because I was bored. And that increased my eating window probably by 4 or 5 hours, and that was just enough to tell my body to grow, and I grew. And now I need to shrink again. So anyways, let's plate this up, and you'll see. I'm pretty excited about how it looks. I don't know that I got everything mixed together real good, so I'm just going to do this. I really want to make sure I get some of that squash in there. Okay, so there we go. And on top of that, I'm going to add just a little bit of thyme. And a little bit of green onion. Peppers. I like my food hot. And a bit of cilantro. You know what I think would be good on this? Just a little touch of sour cream on the very top. I think a little dollop of sour cream on the top would just kind of finish it. There we go. maybe just to make that prettier. Here we go. All done. A nice colorful plate, lots of fiber, lots of vitamins. By leaving the skin on the squash, I added more fiber there too, so I'm definitely feeding the mitochondria and the bacteria in my gut, and lots of protein. The cheese has protein, the broth had protein, the sausage has protein, even the sour cream has protein, so I think that that's a wise choice for this. And anyways, I hope you enjoy. Have a very blessed day, and tomorrow I'll be doing some more appetizer type of foods for Super Bowl Sunday.